Welcome to the Power Rack Podcast, episode number 8. Before we get started here today, this is a show I'm really excited for. We took a couple weeks off, but believe me, now we're back with a vengeance. But I would like to have anyone who's watching or who will be watching later to please like and subscribe to the channel. It really helps out more than you know. And then check out my website for past episodes, and the ticker's running here, trapauthority.com. Past episodes, the episode today will be posted there later too. And not to mention merchandise. I have my fuck mental weakness apparel available there, my brand. And so I encourage everybody to please check it out and order some stuff. Today's episode, I'm really personally excited about myself. I'm going to delve into this guy's biography the best I can from what I remember from my recollection and find out what he's doing today. But ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the podcast the biggest and baddest heel ever to enter a wrestling ring here in the Northwest and actually Texas, and I can name a bunch of other states, but this dude was one big bad dude, and I know for a fact because I was in the ring with him at one time. Things are running
up,
a
man?
little slow on my end, so everybody please bear with me. Bringing J-Sin Sullivan, the sinner.
What's up, Todd, man? The man with the biggest traps in the land, and you got the biggest, baddest heel per you in the world. What's going on, my dude?
Dude, it's an honor to have you on my show. I when I reached out to you, I was thinking, man, this is an interview I really want to do. So when you agreed to it, I was pretty darn happy. You're a big guy. Let's establish at your peak weight in wrestling. What'd you weigh? What was your height and weight at your peak?
My height is 6'4". My weight, I peaked out at like, I'm almost ashamed to say it, like a 505.
505. I knew you were big.
Well, this was in June of 2019. I peaked out at 505. And actually, I was actually dieting hardcore for about a month before that. So I'm thinking I was up to about 520, 525, something like that.
Wow. Holy crap.
Yeah.
Well, we'll get into all that a little bit later and what it was like to be in the ring with someone your size for me, who was huge myself, and I'll show pictures of that later too. When you were born, how big of a baby were you?
Actually, I was pretty normal sized baby. I don't even remember the exact ounces, but I was like 7 pounds, 3 ounces, 12 ounces, something like that. Like nothing astronomical. I was just, I just grew into it as I got older, or as I aged.
And speaking of that, let's fast forward now to high school. What were you like in high school?
Man, I was actually a bit of a slacker. Freshman, sophomore year, I didn't excel in anything. I was just kind of coasting along, and then I discovered the gym, and I think that was my junior year or sophomore year. And I went to Roosevelt High School in Portland, Oregon, St. John's, and I discovered the weights. And so because you had mandatory gym class, and I didn't know nothing about weights. And so I started pumping the iron, and about 3 months into starting with my friends, because there was like 2 different weight groups, and like the guys who were doing the heavyweights were the football guys, and I was over there with my friends. And eventually I started working out with the football guys because I started lifting heavy. And by the end of my junior year, I pumped up, I think I benched 305 or something like that. And then I just fell in love with working out from there. But like, besides that though, like I didn't really fit in any group. I was the guy that liked wrestling, was going to the wrestling matches every Saturday night at the Portland Sports Arena, which was a few minutes away from where I lived. And I was just kind of a slacker, man. I would party and all that crap, but I don't feel I fit into any group.
How big were you in high school?
I was 6'3" by my senior year. I was always a big kid, but I remember I had some really big growing pains and spurts when I was about 9 years old. I just remember my feet my knees, my hips were in a tremendous pain for several months. And we attributed to growing pains because I was growing so fast at that point. Like where my mom would buy like shirts and pants, and I would outgrow them in months, not like a year or whatever. So I went through a real quick spurt between what was that? I think 3rd and 4th grade or 2nd and 3rd grade. I can't remember which ones those were.
When you got your driver's license, what was your body weight on that?
300. I was at 293.
Wow.
Yeah, I was at 290, 300 when I was I was always in that 300 range right around 17 years old, and I was already 6'3", 6'4". And I always I never looked it. Yeah, I never looked it though because of my broad shoulders and all that stuff. And then my weight started catching up to me probably about 15 years ago, where I just started eating heavier and heavier and heavier. But I feel like I carried my weight really well until about maybe 2007.
Well, did you do, before we leave the high school talk, did you do any sports in high school then?
No, I should have. The football coaches really wanted me, especially when they saw me working out, and then they saw me I'd be out on the fields, on the football field, the baseball field, wherever. I'd be out at lunchtime or whatever, and just mauling through people or running and we would have those big crash pads, and I would be doing full front flips and they would just, they were just like, why aren't you playing? And I had zero interest. I had no interest in it. I wanted to be a wrestler. I didn't care nothing about it. And I really wish, I could go back and play football because a lot of people, when I started breaking into wrestling, there was a lot of guys who come from football backgrounds, and they saw my footwork and they always assumed I played. So, and I was just no. And so it's really a big miss on that. So no, I played baseball, rec sport baseball. And as a kid, I was pretty decent. I wasn't great, but I was pretty decent. I loved baseball. I played a lot of pickup basketball, full court. I would just, find games with some of my friends for a few years, and I was pretty good at that too. But I don't know, man. Maybe even to this day, I don't like being put on a schedule. So.
Yeah. Kind of I feel the same way there. Well, you were no doubt big, fast, and explosive when it came to the ring. So I could see where that would have been good in football.
Yeah. Big missed opportunity.
Okay. You mentioned earlier Portland wrestling, going and watching it. So you started going there when you were in high school. Is that where your interest first began with wrestling?
No, man. My interest, I actually was going since I was like a baby. Like my first memory of Portland wrestling, and it's very hazy, but I remember a steel cage, Playboy Buddy Rose, Ed Wiskowski, Jesse Ventura, and Jimmy Snuka. How big is that, and I just remember that was my very first memory that I can remember of Portland wrestling, and I was hooked. I was hooked. That was my drug. And so every Saturday night it would be on at 8:30 before they moved it back, but it was on at 8:30. And I knew I was 4 years old. I knew when it was on, what time it was on. I knew all the people, all the characters, Frank Bonema, Don Cost, Buddy Rose, Jay Youngblood, Piper, all those guys were that was it for me. I wanted nothing to do with anything else but professional wrestling.
Yeah. Yeah. It's interesting because I'm older than you, of course. So probably about the time you were doing that, I started working out at LaPrenzi's gym at the age of 15, and that's where a lot of the guys worked out. Jesse Ventura was there working out, Sam Oliver Bass, and I mean all these guys. And so as a small kid, I was like blown away by this. But
yeah, I worked out at LaPrenzi's in the mid '90s, and they had pictures of Ventura and a bunch like Snuka and a bunch of the guys that worked out there. And I love that gym. Like when I started working out there in the mid '90s, that gym to me was like a bodybuilder gym.
Yeah. Yeah. In the old days, it was mainly bodybuilding, some powerlifting, and then, like I said, all the pro wrestlers worked out there. So because it was one of the only gyms around really at that time. And but okay, so you used to go watch Portland. When did you get to the point where like, man, this is something I want to do, I want to get involved in and look for a school?
I always wanted to get involved into it, but I didn't know, like, you know, as a kid, especially back then, like, you know, when I got out of high school, it was 1992, and I didn't know. It's not like today where there's a gym, you know, you throw a rock and there's a wrestling school, you know, mine included. And so I didn't know. So in 1991, I ran into, like, Jesse Barr was at the concession stand during one of the shows, and me and a friend went up and talked to him. And I asked them about, because I found out they had a school and they were doing it over at the Interstate Pavilion, and which is over where Sandy Barr had to move. He had a second flea market for a while. And I talked to Jesse Barr, and I was 17. And at that time, it was very regulated, and he said you had to be 18 years old to go train. And so it's like, okay, cool, I'll wait till I'm 18 to go train. And so how did that go? I went and worked out at their gym while I was 17, and they were training in the ring, and it was pretty cool. You know, they had like Bruiser Bryan and Lou Andrews and Dane Rush, the Pope brothers, like a lot of really good guys. And so I'm over there just pumping weights and getting bigger. And then right after I turned 18, I'm like, all right, I'm gonna go sign up. It was like $50 a week. And then I went to the office with Sandy and Jesse, and Sandy at that point, because the guys were not paying on time, he wanted all the money up front, which I think was like $2,000. And I didn't have the money. Like, I'm 18 years old, just out of high school. Minimum wage back then was like $4 an hour. So, you know, $2,000 back then is like, I think it's probably translated about $4,000 in today's money. So I just, you know, I had no shot at the money. And so that went out the window. And then about a year and a half later, Billy Jack was going to start a school. And so then he said if I could get 500 down, he would train me. So I got 500 down, and then he disappeared. So I don't know. I gave the money, and he just took off with it. And then I found there was probably like 4 or 5 other guys that he did that to as well. And so I never thought, like, at that point, I was kind of pissed off and I was over it. Like, you know, my money was taken. And then I moved to Houston, Texas in 96, was working a pretty good job. And I just randomly, I still got that bug, and I found a wrestling school down here in 1999, 2000, something like that. And it was by this guy named Outlaw Josie Wales, and he's just a carny. And I remember I went into his school, and listen to this. He had this ring, and the center support was held up by cinder blocks. So the ring was just stiff. The ring was just stiff as hell. And so I gave him, I think it was like $100 deposit or whatever. I went for a few weeks there, but like the first day I went in there, he gave me a 3-page script that for a match for a show he was doing. He just gave me a script of this match, and he wanted me to like use this script for my first match. And I knew this wasn't like, I just knew that was not the way to get it, like to wrestle, get in the business. So I was there for a couple of weeks. And then when I just like, well, this guy isn't on the up. Then I found out later, he totally was not on the up and up. So I made the right choice by just following my gut instincts. And then I finally, and then I went to the grappler school in 2001, and I got hurt at work, so I had to bow out of that. So I had so many start and stops, and I was so frustrated. And then finally in 03, I found Texas All-Star Wrestling, and I was just like, okay, I'm 29 years old at that point, 28, 29, and I'm like, this is my last shot. Like, if I don't make it now, like I'm not going to make it at all. And I went in there and I just took to it like a fish out of water. It was the first school that like I didn't get hurt at work or none of that stuff. So I was like actually just tearing through it. And then I went over to Buddy in 04. I wound up switching jobs, went back to Oregon and went and found Buddy Rose and Colonel De Beers and went to their school. And there it is right there, Playboy Buddy Rose, me and Drexel. And went to their school, and that's where I already knew how to bump from Texas All-Star, but Buddy and Colonel, man, they were the ultimate finishing school for me. Like they taught me how to work, they taught me psychology, they taught me when and where to do things. Like without them, I don't think I would have gotten nearly as far or been like able to do the things that I've done without what they've taught me, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, I know a lot of the Northwest wrestlers came from that school. They're really good ones, I should say.
Myself, actually, there's 3 that live down here now. Myself, Nate Andrews, and Quiz.
Quiz is down there now?
Quiz is back in Houston. He's from Houston originally, actually.
Oh, I didn't know that. Huh.
Yeah, and Quiz is actually, I got a school down here, and Quiz is down here twice a week. Okay. He's still working out, helping out some of the kids. Nate Andrews lives 5 hours. He's about 4.5, 5 hours. He's just south of Abilene, Texas, and he comes down here once or twice a month to do shows and whatnot. And he's part of the crew. And then there's Cameron Starr. He's in Vegas now. Even like Brian Zane, he's got a really big podcast on YouTube, Wrestling with Regret. And then there's a whole bunch of like Cade Matthews came out through there. Jimmy Freeman, who unfortunately passed away some years back, Heartthrob Hanson. Like there's a lot of good talent that came out of that school.
Yeah. We'll talk a little bit about a couple of those guys later on here. But so you came out of Buddy and Ed's school. And and then you started locally here in the Northwest. What federation did you start with first?
Well, the first one was just a one-off. It was WAPW, I think it was called. And it was pretty much just a school. Like it was Buddy and Ed's school, but like this guy, he wanted to do a show. And so he decided that we partnered up. And we did a show in Hillsboro, Oregon at the Armory. And we drew like 250, 300 people for that very first show. And that was April 1st, 1995.
95. Okay.
Yeah.
So where did you go from there?
After that, I went to WCWC, Jeff Manning. I don't know. I can't remember how I got into there. We had, I think, done some emails or something like that. And he decided to give me a tryout with, and so my first match was going to be against this guy named Bishop from Canada. And Cole Bishop was Cole Bishop at the time. He's Bishop now. He was 6'5", 6'6", 280, real big dude. And we didn't know each other from nothing. And they gave us like a little 6-minute match. And we wound up like tearing it up. And it got to the point like where I got to the back and nobody believed it was my second match. Everybody thought I'd been in the business for like 3 or 4 years at that point.
Wow.
And yeah, it's crazy. And so I get to the back and it's my tryout, and they gave me a promo to cut and right at the start. And I cut my own promo. Nobody really fed me any lines or nothing like that. And I got to the back and Jeff goes, "What are you doing next month?" And I go, "Look, working for you." And that was it.
Wow. So when did that end? Approximately what year?
I think I was there for 2 years.
Okay. 2 years. So
I was there because what happened, I went there and then I started doing Portland wrestling. for
Well, that's what I was
Frank.
going to. I was going to lead up to that. So when I did Portland wrestling, where the hell were you then? Because I can't believe you didn't do the full run with it. What's that?
I was at Dub C at that point when you were over there.
I'm talking 2004.
Oh, I was still training.
2004, 2005.
Yeah, I was still training, and then I started at Dub C in June of 05. And then in February of 06, I came in and I debuted for Frank, and I was going, and they put me right into the Grapplers crew. And when I got into his crew, and then the next month, I think the Grappler either got fired or quit. I don't know the whole story on that. That's not my business. And then Luther took over, and so like I kind of became like one of the projects for Luther, and they just started building me up with a bunch of squash matches, and I was just tearing through everybody. And that's where my feud with Skag Rollins started. And so I was working Dub C still and with Portland Wrestling through that time. And then when we got to, what was it, September of 06, or was it 07? I can't remember. My years kind of get foggy. I think it was 06.
I think it was 06.
Yeah. Skag started up NRW, and when he started it up, he thought, hey, maybe some of the guys can go over and do shows for for me, and kind of continue lines for Portland Wrestling, give like, especially us young guys, more dates and more time in the ring, which I thought was really important. And Frank wasn't really high on that. And so at first I was going to go, then I was like, I flip-flopped. I didn't know what I wanted to do. And then I was like, well, no, I'm going to stay with Portland. And then it was eating away at me. And then I decided, okay, I'm going to jump over the NRW. And then Skag's like, well, you got to let Luther know. And there it is right there. Yeah. And I think that's actually one of Derek Drexel's earliest web designs. He does amazing work, and he's still doing that to this day.
Yeah, we're all on here.
Yep. Yes, we are. And so I decided to jump with NRW, and it was actually really cool because like for a whole year we were working every week, and that's where I really got those live reps. And sometimes the crowd would be like 15, 20, even once or twice lower than that. Sometimes there was 65, 75, 100, but we were doing it every Friday night and sometimes Sundays towards the end. And it was just a hell of a learning experience, man. I think that helped me learn how to become a heel, like a good heel. And then it helped like Nate Andrews and Quiz and Cameron and Hanson and all those guys. Like, it helped us all get those reps, and we were all learning under like Skag was running it, man. But we had Richie Magnet in that locker room and CW Bergstrom, and those guys were like, they were the generals there. Like, I would go to them after every match, and Richie taught me how to like listen to the crowd, because I go to the back and I go, hey man, how was the match? And he's like, I didn't see it, but I listened to it. And he goes, it sounded good because the crowd, he goes, the crowd was hot. And he was like, and he would always tell me, like, he'd give me the biggest compliment when, no matter what. He goes, Jason, every time you come back, the crowd's always hot. And so you're doing something right. Keep doing it. Don't screw with your formula. So, and that's what I did, because, we all there was always, like, everybody wants to be that work rate guy. And I just, I'm more of a character guy. I'm more of the visuals and stuff like that. So all I care about is the crowd reaction. I don't care if the boys.
What did you weigh?
What did I weigh back then?
During the NRW days?
I was probably 340, 350.
Yeah, I knew I knew you had to have been close to 4, but okay. Let's stop here for a second. Talk about the NRW days, because Jason.
Sure. Yeah, you were cutting out for a second.
Okay. We're getting Can you hear me now?
Yeah, you're good now.
Okay. So the NRW days. So I got Skag reached out to me through MySpace at that time. And he's like, hey, I have this organization. Because I knew him from Portland Wrestling, right?
Yeah.
And he reached out to me. He's like, hey, I got this organization going. I said, yeah, I know. I've been following it. And he's like, I'd like you to come be part of a show. And I'm thinking, okay, because at that point Cameron Starr's there, and I knew Cameron really well. So I figured we're gonna do the bodyguard thing or something with Cameron. Right. And so I get there, and the first time I ever walk in the doors, I get there and I'm like, all right, so what'd you have planned tonight? Because I'm honored to be there. I'm honored that he reached out to me. You know what I mean? And I'm like, what'd you have planned for tonight? I'm thinking, walking with Cameron or something out to the ring, because they're heels at the time. And he's like, no, I'm having a battle royal, and we're going to have you in it, and you're going to go over in the battle royal, and then you're going to have a shot later on in the night for the title, the heavyweight title, against J-Sin Sullivan. And I'm like, you're ribbing me, right? I said, you've got to be kidding me here. I said, you remember, are you forgetting how green I am? And does J-Sin know about this? That was my two questions. And is he okay with this? That's what I said. He's like, oh yeah, he's cool. I'm like, holy shit. And I'll bring up a picture here. And this is because it'll lead into, at this point, I'm my biggest. I'm 290 pounds, just so everybody knows for this story. I'm a big dude. And you dwarf me in the ring. I mean, that's how big you are. I want people to understand that, even because the pictures I'm going to show aren't going to totally do it justice. But I'm like, holy crap, he's serious. So we do the battle royal, and I go over and I get to have the honor of being in the ring with you later. But I'm thinking, how the hell is this going to go over? It's like the guy's going to kill me. And, being as green as I am, because I figure you're going to get pissed off somewhere in the match, and then just but man, dude, I got to tell you, that was the best match. I didn't have a whole lot of matches, but I'm talking out of Portland Wrestling. I'm talking out NRW and a few other, CC Poison's organization I did a few things for, and along with PWA, I think, whoever was running that at the time. My best match ever was with you because of how well you walked me through that match and kept it simple for me, but kept it good. Two big guys going at it, two powerhouses, man. And I actually have some pictures. Give people an idea. There's before the match got started. I think you're wanting a microphone or something to yell at me.
Don't move that picture. Look at how wide you are, man. Look at those traps, man. Look how thick you are, man. I don't think you're giving yourself enough credit.
Well, I said the pictures don't do justice on your size, but the match, of course we lock up and we do our I'm just listening to you all the way through. I'm like, he'll get me through this, and you beat on me for a bit. Hey, that's to be expected. And then one of these, and when you said you're doing this, I'm like, holy crap, this is this is where he kills me. But no, dude, you're such a great worker. That's all I got to say.
Man, thank you. Well, you know what though, you probably didn't feel that elbow because your chest is so high, and people don't realize the skinnier a person is, the harder it is to land that elbow, and protect the person. And you're so thick on your chest that I'm actually able to land better and more comfortable without having to lean in. So you probably didn't even feel it.
I didn't, and that's what was amazing, because I was expecting the worst, But it's then the test of strength we did, and we did a really cool thing, but it ended up with me almost having you locked into the full Nelson, so the crowd was going pretty wild, thinking you were going to get beat, and then of course Derek Drexel waxed me with his cane and ended up with pinning me.
What a dirty bastard I was. And even look how pissed off our boy Skag is over there too.
Because he was backing me.
Yeah. But, he was I think what they would do is, I think this is your first night. I think he was out there and he was already an established babyface, so he was probably out there making sure that you know, to kind of help you make sure the crowd was with you.
Yeah. Oh, you guys were all just amazing.
Oh, look at that sexy beast right there.
What a trying to bring up another picture here. Hang on.
What a handsome fella.
How big you are. I mean, I want people to fully understand the size here, you know.
I was probably around
we're getting a little
think like this, like, I was about 380, 390 at that point, and I would climb up the ropes and hit that elbow. Like, I wouldn't just do it on the ground. I still to this day. And right now I'm probably about 360, 370. And that's our first picture. And I'm me with the something about Mary hair. What the hell's going on there?
Oh, yeah. I think he'd already wrestled that night.
Yeah. Do you know where that was? Because I do, if you don't remember that.
Mount Scott.
Yes, Mount Scott. It was our Exile show at the community center. And we were I had just left Portland. And NRW had just started, and it was the first time that me and you actually had a chance to work a show together.
It was.
Yep. And I remember because there was a lot of us that were salty about Portland, and because we were just a bunch of assholes back then, and or at least I was. And I remember Grappler was running the locker room for Exile, and he goes, "Yeah, go out there, and you can cut a promo on Portland and Frank." And I go, "Okay, cool. What did I say?" And he goes, "I just go tell him to, you know, fuck off or whatever." And I'm like, I took it literally. So I went out on the mic, and I was like, "Fuck Portland wrestling and fuck Frank Culbertson," and all this stuff. And so Bergstrom comes out. We have our match. It was a really good match, actually. I loved working Bergie, man. We did like just a good big man brawl. And I get to the back, and Grappler, the Skag beats me first. He's like, "What the fuck, Jason? What did you say?" I'm like, "What do you mean?" He goes, Grappler's pissed. I go back, and he goes, "Goddamn, boss, I did," you know. He read me the riot act, but he's like reading me the riot act, but he's laughing at the same time. And so he thought it was funny, but I'm like, "My bad." And he goes, "I didn't mean it literally, kid."
Grappler's a character, man. He's awesome.
Yeah, he lives down here too.
I know. He moved back to Texas. He left.
Yeah,
everybody's leaving us.
He's about 30 minutes from me.
You guys left, and the whole city went to shit. Let me tell you.
Well, yeah, I don't plan on coming back. I'll tell you that much.
Good Lord. Yeah. I don't blame you. Okay, well, I'd probably get in trouble or be remiss if we didn't talk about DOA while you were still here.
Oh, dude, DOA is my baby. Yeah, DOA is my baby, man. So that started in 2008. Me, Terry Farnes, Derek Drexel, Kevin Brandt, like we all had a big powwow. And we decided to start something up. And it was just DOA, you know, don't own anybody, for the boys, by the boys, no bullshit, just wrestling. And I was still learning how to book, though, man. It's like the first year or two, I was like, "Oh, we're going to do like deathmatch, ECW bullshit, blah, 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 blah." Man, we were just young and dumb, and we were fucking each other's bodies up and destroying each other. And I mean, it was good times, though, man. It was really good times. Like, people say, "Oh, you guys are hurting each other," and you call it good times. And I'm like, you just got to be in that mindset. But then, like, I feel that my best, I feel DOA for us was at its best around, I would say 2013, 14. Like, I feel we were like on a run, like we were just hot as hell around the end of 2012, 2013, 2014. I think it's when a lot of the young guys started coming up, and we, you know, like Quiz and CJ and Ethan and Santiago and you know, a lot of those cats, they just started coming up. Ricky Gibson. Oh yeah, look at that. That's from a dog collar match in Texas back in 2014, right before I went to South America, actually.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and so yeah, like DOA was really fun, and we were drawing some really good houses, especially the last 3 years. Like, most of the houses were fairly full. And we would always pack the houses guaranteed for the anniversary show, the Halloween show, the Rumble, and March, for whatever reason, we would fill it up. And even when I thought that we were going to be slow in June, July, and August, we were pulling them in. Like, people just wanted to see our show, whether it was hot out, which in Oregon, when you hit the summer months, nobody wants to be inside. But for some reason, we got them to come inside in June, July, and August. I don't know how.
I want to make sure I give credit to. So it was you. Was it Kevin Brandt part of that too?
Yeah, me, Kevin Brandt, Terry Farnes, who was the actual promoter, and then Derek Drexel. The four of us were the four that started it.
Okay, I just want to make sure everybody gets credit for that, because right. That was an organization that definitely was getting a lot of talk, locally here. It was a big deal. You guys always had the coolest T-shirts too.
That was all Derek, man.
Was it T-shirts Derek and posters? Yeah.
Yep, all Derek. Derek, he's doing my posters for the company down here now. Okay. Derek does flyers and posters for I can't even name how many companies, but he's he's doing really good at it. And everybody look him up. Derek Drexel, Devil Designs. He's good stuff. Excellent.
So, before we kind of leave talking about first of all, I can't believe I didn't ask you earlier. When you heard you were going to be wrestling me that night, what was your thoughts? Oh shit, this green ass guy.
Actually, no, that was
NRW.
That was it. Like that, I always think that. But then I remember De Beers would always tell me, because he would tell the other guys, because I looked at it as a challenge. Like, that's why when I went to you, I go, what can you do? I was just like, what moves can you do? And I already knew you could clothesline, because every big guy can clothesline. But then the full Nelson, that's where we implemented the full Nelson for the finish. And I actually think we worked to the full Nelson the whole match.
Yeah, you remember it well. I'm surprised as many matches as you've had.
Well, for me, it's a psychology thing. Like, if I know you're doing the full Nelson, then we're going to work to it the whole match. Like, we're going to figure, and then you're finally going to get it at the very end, and then Derek is going to come in and pull his chicanery in there. Yeah. And so when I work as somebody who's green or whatever, I always look at it as a challenge. And I want to, for me, it's just I don't necessarily want to have to work the guy that's is the best in the world. I like working guys who are better than me, because you get better. But I also like to work guys who have less experience than me, because then you can try to bring them up and let them see where their next move should be. That next elevation. Yeah. And I thought we actually had a good match. I was actually happy with it.
It was my best ever, but I haven't had near as many matches as you, of course. But it's interesting. I'll just say this real quick. As you know, the wrestling business can be really good, or it can be a backstabbing business too. People buy in for spots and everything. And I remember when I entered Portland wrestling, the Grappler gave me, because Grappler was booking and stuff at that time. Frank was his show, but Grappler was doing the booking, and I had very little training. I was thrown into Portland wrestling quicker than I should have been, for the lack of training that I had. But Cameron Starr was working with me as quick and the best he could, in training classes. And when I got thrown in there, Grappler's like, okay, within a couple of weeks, I had a shot with Jeremy Blanchard. We're going to win the tag team title belts. I'm like, dude, I'm not ready for this. And there's so many other people, and it's going to create a lot of heat amongst the boys in the back. Here's this person so green, winning the belts when I just come in, and they've been here longer. And but guys like Skag Rollins and Ladies Choice LC and those guys, they treated me so well and gave me so much respect. And of course I gave them plenty of respect too. But when I got called in a couple of years later, got called into NRW, I thought, oh God, is this where the payback is, where there's maybe a lot of heat since I got pushed so quick in Portland Wrestling for the title belts. And now is the payback where he's going to bring me in, put me with Jason. Jason's he's friends with. Jason's going to destroy me, like physically, for real. And so there's a lot of nervousness there. So when we walked through a match and you were so good with me, and it was, again, my best match ever, I was blown away. I mean, I was treated so well in NRW. I just can't thank you guys enough for how well I was treated there.
No, man, you were part of the crew. I think people forget, though, that like wrestling is not only like a visual for like the guys that do the moves and whatnot, but it's also a cosmetic industry. And like some guys will, well, this guy hasn't paid his dues, and you got to take it from the source, because usually most people are saying that. It's usually a skinny kid that weighs 130 pounds and he has, you know, he and it's not a knock on. No, it is a knock. I am knocking him, but the thing is like I have to explain to some of these guys, like, well, no, he did pay his dues. Look at his body. Look at his figure. Like, he's put in the time in the gym. And I'm always been big on putting time in the gym and putting time in the training facility for wrestling as well. But many of the guys who were complaining were probably the same guys that weren't putting time in the gym nor in the training facility for a ring. They're just showing up for shows and they're being superstars. When you have someone who has a good look, and then Skag trusted, you know, me to work with you and to like, let's put together a match that suits your abilities. And so for me, like, you could, you know, if you're a really good wrestler, you have to be able to elevate anybody. And because I mean, if my matches were just based on like, if I just wanted to say I wanted to work guys like Quiz and Nate and Cameron and Ethan HD and all these guys every night, that's like taking shortcuts, because those guys are better than me, you know, like, when it comes to doing the moves and stuff, you know. But you should be truly judged on working people who have all skill sets and everything. And so like for me, like, I would love to work one night, even today, a Quiz, and then the next night a U, and then the next night a Cleaver, and then the next night some kid out of the school, you know, like give me that variety and let me test my skills. Because if you're not testing your skills, then why are you even here? So if the guys had heat, that's on them, you know. Like if there's, the thing is like, they go, well, that person's taking my spot. No, motherfucker, like, that spot's the promoter spot. You know, all those, like, if you've got 12 spots on the show, that's the promoter spot, and it's your job to earn that spot for that one night, and then you got to come back and you got to earn that spot the next night. Colonel De Beers, Ed Wiskowski, gave me really good advice when I was leaving NWWA, and he was going to visit Buddy, who lived next door to me, and he knocked on my door, and I was like, "Hey, Ed, how you doing?" And he's like, "So I hear you're leaving the other company." And I told him the story, and I was like, you know, trying to, you know, and I was just like, you know, I feel that I owe them this one match. And he goes, "Do you have a contract?" I'm like, "No, sir." And he goes, "Well, you don't owe them nothing." And so that was his perspective from the wrestler's perspective. But also, when I look at a promoter's perspective, the promoter owes you nothing. As in, I'm talking to the boys, you know, all he owes you. Yeah, all he owes you, and all he owes you is that, like, if I say I'm booking you, let's say next Friday, I owe you the guarantee for next Friday's show, but I don't owe you nothing beyond that. Mm-hmm. And it's the same thing for the wrestler. The wrestler doesn't owe the promoter anything besides his commitment for the show coming up. And beyond that, and that's where you have to, and now here's where it all ties in together, is you have to build a respect for each other and a trust for each other and whatnot. And so Skag, who was the promoter, he trusted me with you to get you so you could come back for the next week and work whomever you're going to work. And so then he trusted me to make you look good. And then he trusted me to make myself look good as well, so I could come back the next week and have a match with someone else.
Yeah. So, wow. Amazing. Yeah. Some brilliant minds in the works there back in, without even realizing it until you look back on it, you know?
Yeah. And sometimes you don't even know it until you think about it.
Exactly. I'll kind of be randomly showing some pictures of you while you talk, but before we leave the Northwest stuff, what are some of your most memorable matches here? Like, was there one match that was most memorable to you, or maybe your top 3 most memorable moments in the Northwest wrestling?
I would say my first match with Thrash Kincaid, just because it was my first match, and there was a few hundred people there, and the crowd was like, it was hot. Not to be one of those old timers that says the crowd was hot. No, the crowd was fucking hot. I remember they thought that a couple other matches we got over more than us because of the athleticism, and we went out and blew it away. So I was very happy with that. Oh yeah, look at that blood right there, man. My match with Hess that I had in Portland, it was the barbed wire death match. That was really fun, and we actually got a good house. That was probably our first big house for DOA. We were kind of struggling at the gate up until that point. I mean, we would have we were up to 100 a show, and for me 100, back then for Portland, that was good because Portland was a dead territory, but I wanted those big gates. And I think at that show we did almost 200. And so that was the biggest house we had done up to that point. And in Portland, you remember all those shows, man, nobody was drawing good. They would have to, even Portland wrestling early on, they'd have to paper the houses and stuff. And but they were doing 50 to 60 paid, and they had a hell of a fucking roster.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think.
Well, they had good TV then too, Comcast cable channel, and a pretty good time slot when it aired too.
Yeah, but they were still having problems drawing. It was just horrible. It was just, you had to develop. I don't know what I don't know what it took to get the crowds back up, but we finally did. Trying to think another match that I had a couple really good ones in Canada I was really liking. I had what was it, a Vancouver street fight with Bishop. I think it's on YouTube actually. That's one of my favorite matches. We just beat the living hell out of each other, and I felt like I was on fire as a worker at that point. My favorite feud, Canada again, was with Sid Silem. And that was actually the picture with us where I was dropping an elbow on him while I was bleeding, and that was probably my most intense right there. Yeah, me and Sid, that was at Halloween Hell in New West. Leading up to that match, I threw him off a balcony. I did the elbow from the second rope through a table onto the floor onto him. I stole his sister, all this crap.
Wow.
Yeah. And so we just had a hell of a feud, and it ended in the 3 stages of hell at Halloween Hell. And I cut my greatest promo I've ever cut in my life leading up to that. And we were picking opponents for each other, and I wound up having to be in a casket match. And there I am, just bloody. And from that picture where I was laying on the mat, yeah, and there's just blood, my face is just all bloody, and I'm cutting a promo backstage, and we picked opponents, and I'm going against this guy named Cremator for the next show, and then the announcer goes, yeah, well, you're going to be in a casket match against Cremator, and me being all cocky, I'm like, well, there's not a casket big enough for me. And he goes, oh no, he's actually making a special casket for you. And I'm like, huh? And I start panicking because I'm scared of caskets, legitimately. And so we had it. Then the question was well, how do we get out of the finish? What do we do? And because they didn't want him to lose or me to lose. And so I'm like, what if I just do the same elbow that I did to Sid a few months before, where I crashed through a table? I go, what if I put the guy on the table or on top of the casket, and I jump off of the ropes, and I broke the casket. So neither one of us could lose. So.
Wow. That was a good idea. That sounds like a fantastic finish. Well, so who are some of the biggest names you've wrestled? I know we have Fit Finley.
Gosh, I haven't really worked a lot of the big names. I would bring in most of the guys to work. When I'd bring in guys, I'd bring them in to work our guys. Finley was one I got selfish, and I'm like, okay, I'm gonna work him, and I gave him him and Cleaver against me and Ugly. But for the most part, though, I brought him in like Christopher Daniels, Colt Cabana, Raven. I've worked the grappler, which was a big deal to me. The one that's most special to me is I actually worked Buddy Rose and Colonel De Beers in a school. We were at the school. So it's like there's like the students that knew this, and there was 20 of us there, but Buddy Wayne came in as a guest instructor that day. And Buddy and Colonel were like, hey, we're going to go do a tag match, and we're going to show you kids how to do a proper tag. And Buddy Wayne was in the ring, and he goes, he looked around and goes, Sully, come in here, and it's going to be you and Buddy Wayne against me and Colonel. And I'm like, holy shit, because this is an 04, and I'm about 3 months into their school, maybe even 2 months at that point. And they trusted me to get in there and work with them. And so it was my favorite match, like the biggest match to me, was me and Buddy Wayne against Buddy Rose and Colonel De Beers. And they would it was like a 12 to 13 minute match that we actually went all out. It was Buddy took his backflip over the top rope to the floor just for the students.
Jeez.
And this was in 2004. So he was in his early 50s at that point. And he did his backflip over the top rope to the floor. He even tried to do his, that was 2 years before this picture.
Okay.
And that poster in the background was his Burgerville poster, which I put up in my living room. And so that was probably to me, that was probably my biggest match I ever had personally. And there was nobody there. Like, I've never cared about working the big names and none of that stuff. I just wanted to go out there and just, make each other better. That's all I've ever cared about.
Right. I want to make sure I got everything covered here. So the move to Texas, at this point, you've left the Northwest and you moved to Texas. What was the reason for that? And since you were born and raised here, why Texas? What made you pull up and leave?
Well, I've lived in Texas off and on since '96.
Okay.
I lived in '96, and then when I moved back to Portland, and I lived in Portland full time for like that 6 or 7 years that I did the run there. When I moved to Texas, man, I just had a great job opportunity. The money was better, so I was actually flying back once a month, sometimes every couple of weeks for the DOA and Canada shows.
Okay.
And then I was doing shows down here in Texas as well. And I was working with Texas All-Star Wrestling for like the last 7 years, 8 years. And I just, for me, it was just a personal money thing. And so I was just flying back it up. So I was working, I would work, run my company here, and I would work, 6 days a week. But then every few weeks I would leave. I would take that red eye and fly straight up to Portland, and I would wind up doing Salem. I would loop my shows around the Canadian shows, and I would do Salem or Kaiser on Friday, Portland on Saturday, Canada on Saturday. I would do Kaiser on Friday, drive up to Vancouver, BC on Saturday morning, drive all the way back all through the night, and then do DOA Sunday. And I'm usually going off about 3 hours of sleep at that point. Wow. For the Sunday show. And then Sunday night, I would catch the red eye. Here's the funny thing is I always remember it because it was a United flight direct to Houston, 11:59 p.m. on Sunday night. I'd get into Houston because of the 2 hour change. It's a 4 hour flight. I'd get into Houston at 6 a.m. And then I would drive to my shop, and I would get to my shop at around 8. And then I would sleep for about an hour in my car. And then, because nobody would bother me in my car, because if they knew where I was in my office, they would start bothering me. And so I'd be in my office by 9. And then that Monday night, man, I was like a freaking zombie, once or twice a month.
Wow.
But I really loved going up there, and I felt we had something really good going, and I didn't want it to stop personally and professionally. And we were starting to make some money there, so that kind of offset my travel fees as well. And I was just, loving it. And then I was wrestling down here in Texas 2 to 3 times a month. So at one point, I was doing probably between 6 and 10 shows every month between Portland and Canada, and then down here. And then around 2015, I got an opportunity to go to South America, and we did a national television show down there, and I lived there for 7 months. And so, like, I've been pretty blessed with what wrestling has brought to me.
Yeah, you were definitely meant to be in the business. And it's interesting how in the beginning, you pretty much had 3 strikes on reasons to not continue on and try to get in the business, because, the different reasons you mentioned trying to get into wrestling schools. You talked about, before we talk a little more about Texas, you mentioned Canada. Did you obviously know well and have worked with Luther?
Yeah.
Correct?
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
I work with Luther.
You're obviously that damn good. You've got the talk, your size, you're powerful, you're explosive. Why isn't he working with you to get you an AEW?
I don't know. I'm not really knocking down his doors for that.
Okay.
Like, I haven't talked to Luther. Like, I'm horrible at reaching out to people. I'm really bad at reaching out to people. Like I'm just horrible at it. Even my family knows. Like, they'll hit me up and see if I'm still alive, and I'm not really good at what's that word? Promoting I'm great at like promoting myself on Facebook and yada yada yada, but I'm not good at reaching out to ask people for things and whatnot. So, would I love an opportunity? Absolutely. But, I just don't see myself knocking down doors. I just don't know how to, I'm too prideful. Like, I've never asked for a booking anywhere. Like, if I actually reached out and asked promoters for bookings, I probably would have had so many more, but I've never reached out and asked. They've always hit me up. So
at the end of your wrestling career, when it ends way down the road, are you happy with the way things have gone now, as far as you're doing your own promotion, you've done a lot of great things in the business, but you've never wrestled with WWE, AEW, TNA, any of those, quote unquote big ones. Are you okay with that? It's obvious someone like you should be in one of those organizations because you've got that it factor, but are you happy if you never do?
I'm pretty happy with what I've done. I think even if I just got the opportunity to do a show at one of those places, I think that would put a nice bow on my career personally. But it's not something that I'm pining for. But I think it would be a really cool thing to do. But I'm not like, I don't know. It's just, I'm not salivating over it. But I think it would, it would be a nice, like, I don't know. Now, I actually have never really thought about it. And now that you've said it, I'm kind of like, well, fuck, maybe I do want it. So
you might want to think about reaching out to Luther, at least touch base.
But if I do that though, then I have to think about my presentation, and I'm like, okay, I better drop another 40 pounds real quick, because I know what I like to see. And I know, and for me, I know at my current like intensity level, I know I could drop 30 or 40 pounds in a couple of months. So I'm not really worried.
We're actually going to get to that here in just a few minutes. I want to talk about your training and mindset and all that kind of stuff. But before we do, so there was a couple things I want to go. No, going back to Canada real quick. Have you ever worked like Ladies' Choice, LC, Skag when he was up there in Canada, Dropkick Murphy? Are those names ringing a bell to you at all? Because they're names I'm familiar with.
Yeah, Dropkick, he was there. He was in and out a couple of shows, and I worked a tag match with Dropkick. It was me and El Phantasmo against Dropkick and Scotty, and then I also worked Dropkick in the singles. And this was back
Scotty Mack. That's another one.
Mm-hmm. No, yeah, me and Scotty, we were in South America together. Me and Scotty and Drexel were in South America together. So we had a really good time down there. And me and Scotty had a good feud up in Canada. He was my first big feud up there, and we feuded a few times up there. And we have really good chemistry together. Like, Scotty knows how to work those big boys. And then Ladies' Choice, I never got to work, but I really want to. But I love that dude to death. Like, I've hung out with him a few times, and we've been on shows together. And he pops me, and I think I pop him, and we just get along really well. So, and I never got to work with Skag up in Canada. I don't even recall if we were on a show. I don't even think we were on a show together up there. But I would have liked to have done that up there as well, just in a different atmosphere.
Yeah. When I was in Portland wrestling, Skag and Ladies' Choice, LC were a tag team and stuff. And LC, he was my first match up there, first singles match. And he was just up for anything. I'm telling you. And the guy was up for anything. I said, is it okay if I do a running power slam? I've never done one before, mind you. And he's like, yeah, go ahead. The trust he had in me was just beyond incredible. But, he was such a great worker, man.
He's old school as hell. But yet to me, like, his style translates like to new school.
Yeah.
Because he's so entertaining. Like, he's the guy, like, if you put him on there, you're just gonna pop. He's the what is he? I stole this line, like, when I wake up in the morning, I piss excellence. I'm the, and I love that line. I'm the man with the plan with the golden tan. So, like, he's got all those, all those quick lines and stuff. Great dude.
Yeah, excellent. So back to Texas. We'll end the show with, not yet, but we'll end the show with you talking about your upcoming shows in Texas and stuff. So, but how'd you get your organization started in Texas? Like, you went back there to live, and then how'd you go about starting up an organization?
Well, I was with Texas All-Star Wrestling until the end of last year, beginning of last year, 2020. And then the pandemic hit. And then I've been I thought I was done booking and promoting because I was burnt out after my last run. And I was having some personal issues and shit. And then finally, in the last couple of years, I started feeling better, got my health better. And of course, as a wrestler, once you get your health better and you start feeling better and you're working out, you want to destroy your body. And you also want to go out and start promoting again. At least I do. And so I just got that itch to start promoting and booking and all that. And I got some good partners with me, and it just all kind of came out really very organically. Like, we had a bunch of people who were kind of like-minded in what we wanted to do. We wanted to present something different down here in Texas, something that's not just the same old stuff, and just, offer something different and maybe a little bit more modern. And that's what we're going to do. We're going to still tell stories, but we're trying to give a modern presentation off of it. So what are you guys able to do as far as crowds? Can you guys have crowds at an event there? We're pretty much open here, man.
Wow.
Like, we've been open here for months.
Nice.
And I know a lot of folks, they're screaming about, the spread of COVID, but yet our numbers per capita are on pace with anybody else's numbers. So, like California, who was on strict lockdown, their numbers are per capita worse than ours. So what's working? Is it locking people down, or, and here's the part that gets me, and I think you'll relate to this, is like, you're locking people down and you're not even allowing them to work out. And so you're telling them to stay home and not be physically active. And all I know is like, but the thing is though, wait a minute though, if you're healthier and if you're working out, you have a better chance of fighting off infections, sicknesses, diseases, mental depression. But no, they want you to stay home and starve and not be able to work. And I feel that there should be a happy medium. And should people mask up? Yeah, go ahead and mask up. Especially if you're feeling sick, mask up. Like, I think the Japanese country or the Asian countries really have that, done right. Where, if you're sick, mask up. And I'm not trying to turn this into a thing, but I'm just saying, mask up. And if you're sick, don't be a douchebag. you know.
Well, and like you said, the gyms you want to say, and the gym, it's a choice to go. If you're uncomfortable, don't fucking go, but if you're okay with it, go. At least have them open. Hell, they have the liquor stores and pot shops open, so open the damn gyms. But like you said,
liquor stores and pot shops are open. You've got the grocery stores open where people are in line with each other, locked up side by side. But yet you go to an airline, you go to an airport, they got everybody 6 feet apart, but then they cram you next to each other in an airplane.
Yeah. Pity the fool that has to sit next to you on an airplane. But
dude, I feel so bad on those flights, by the way. So if anybody's ever sat, if anybody's ever sat next to me on a flight, I'm sorry. And I'll give you an autograph or something. I don't know.
Well, cool. I mean, you talked about the gyms and stuff like that. So perfect segue into what I want to really talk to you about also. You and your training regimen, and you're working out. And okay, so you mentioned in the beginning of the interview, you were up to, you think, around 525 pounds. Obviously, you're down now. What was the decision? You talked about a couple of health issues. And so I know that you've always worked out. What's that?
I almost died. So that was my decision. My heart rate was running really high. And I was having stomach issues, I think it was probably digestive issues, because I was just eating shit, man. I was eating pizzas, whole pizzas, fried foods, just crap, and wasn't taking care of myself, wasn't eating vegetables, wasn't eating anything organic or anything good for you. I was just treating my body like shit. And I wound up going to the hospital. And even though I was eating well for the first 6 months, I was still having issues with my body. It's because my body, I almost killed myself eating my life away. And so I was losing tons of weight, but I was still feeling like crap. But then I started working out. But then the problem was that when I would work out, my heart rate was still so high afterwards, because I was still, my body was just not reacting to what I was trying to do. And then about 8-9 months ago, I had another issue, and then I found out my potassium levels were really off, really low. So now I've got my potassium levels up. And now when I work, when I hit the gym and stuff, I literally 30 minutes later, my heart, sometimes an hour later, but my heart rate's down to, my resting heart rate's 65. Wow. And so I got my resting, I'll go in and work out, hit the weights really hard. And then I got my resting heart rate down within an hour. And usually when I'm done working out, I'll get into the ring and fucking run the ropes too. Wow. And hit the ropes. I don't bump as much because I'm saving my bumps. You only got so many of those. Yeah. But, and then usually every couple of weeks I'll get in there and have a couple of hard matches and stuff like that, just to keep the body calloused. But, gym wise, I'm in there 3 to 5 days a week, sometimes more. And, I do my chest, my back, my shoulders, tries, all that stuff, tries, buys, I usually do body weight workouts for my legs, from squats and stuff like that. Cause I'm still 350. So I could do a ton of squats and keep my legs in great shape. I love being in there now. If I'm not in there, I feel like a sack of crap. So
that's really interesting. And you breezed over something that I don't want to go without elaborating on a little bit more. And you said you only have so many bumps in you. Two things on that. Number one, I wish I kind of preach that in the sense of, in the weightlifting world, of these powerlifters. It's like, you guys are getting older now. You only have so many squats left, and you don't be feeling like you need to go all out in the gym and max out all the time. Save those last few squats that you have now that you're in your 40s and 50s, and deadlifts and stuff like that. Those are the main lifts. Save those, because you've only got a handful left. Trust me on this. So you saying that about the bumps, that's really interesting. So how do you think you just get to a certain age and you start to feel like, hey, I need to save these, save my body, or when do you know when you've taken your last bump, I guess I should say?
I don't know. Like, I won't know until it actually happens. Like, for me, it's just I listen to my body.
Yeah.
Like, I'll get in the ring some days and I'm really tight. Now I do stretch. I stretch 20 to 30 minutes before a show. I'll get down and stretch, and then at intermission I'll find a spot in the locker room and I'll get my legs stretched out, my groin stretched out, my back and my hip stretched out. I'll lay back and I'll do like scissor kicks and high lifts and all that stuff, leg lifts and whatnot. And I'll usually do those in sets of threes. And I'll do them every like 10 to 15 minutes backstage. And then, so by the time that my match comes on, I'm warmed up. I don't have to worry about getting in the ring and like you hit the ropes and all of a sudden your legs not cramp up, they tighten up or you're, I like to go in there loose. I like to go in there with my heart rate. Like, for me, my ideal heart rate once I get ready to wrestle is around 75. Like, but once, I try to keep it at 75 because then I know I can push harder. If I feel my heart rate's higher, then that means I ate something wrong that day. I might have had too much sodium. I'm very aware of what I put in my body now. I'm not a clean freak, as you can still tell when it comes to my eating habits. I eat very much more cleaner than I ever did, but like show days and stuff like that, I don't do sodium. I don't, I'm very clean those days. And I also don't eat within 6 hours of my match. So
interesting.
Or at least a meal. I'll do like a protein bar about an hour or two before the match, but like I won't eat a meal.
When you go in the gym, how long do you train for each time? About 2 hours?
From with that in wrestling or
no, just in the gym.
I would say about an hour and a half.
Okay.
And I try to end every workout with some kind of pyramid workout now.
Describe that a little bit.
The pyramid's like let's say I'm trying to decide. Okay, let's say I'm doing curls, and I'll go 4 up and 4 down, and what I'll do is I'll just get 4 weights, and I'll go with 40, 50, 60, 70, and I will do a sets of 10 all the way up, and then I'll take a minute to 2 off, and after that, and then I'll go 70, 60, 50, 40 on the way down, but I'll do till failure on the way down, and so you do straight sets of 10s on the way up, and then on the way down you just go failure all the way down. So I'll got the 70 and I'll do as many as I can of those. The 60 I'll do as many as I can of those. The 50 I'll do as many as I can of those, and the 40 I'll do as many as I can of those. And it's the same thing. Yeah, I got that from watching some of CT Fletcher's workouts.
Okay.
And the same thing with like bench press. So even doing the bench press, I'll a flat back bench. You gotta have partners with you to pull the weights off. And you go up. I'll start off with 135, and then just add weight as you go up intermittently, and then go all the way back down. Same thing with dumbbell flies. You grab dumbbell flies and same thing, all the way up, all the way down. And I usually do them as sets of 4s.
Wow.
So,
wow.
And that's helped me develop a lot of like cardio strength when it comes to working out, instead of, because I'm not trying to focus on size. I'm only going on like less weights, more reps. And because my shoulders getting kind of wrecked and whatnot, and so I can't even throw a baseball with my right arm. So and so like when it like with bench, I don't bench more than 225 now, and I go, but I'm going with max reps. So I'll warm up at 135, and I'll usually do like 40 to 50 reps on 135, and then I'll work my way up intermittently. And 225s, I'm trying to get back up to the 30 rep zones on my 225s again, but I'm stuck at 22, 23.
Mm-hmm. Do you ever do push-ups or anything like that?
No, but I probably should.
I was just curious. I do a lot of them, so I'm just curious if you did. Let's go back to cardio real quick. So the cardio, you're about 400 pounds in the ring when I wrestled. Yeah, I was 290. you were barely winded in our match, and I was huffing and puffing hard. What do you attribute keeping your heart rate down and not getting winded in the ring, especially for long matches, especially, I mean, at 500 pounds, let's say? How are you not getting winded in the ring and having to call it early?
Genetics, partially genetics. The other part was the fact that I was always in the ring. Like, if you're in the, like when I first started out in 0304, I was blowed up in 4 minutes, doing practice matches at the school. And then, but all it is just, you have to be in the ring, because ring training is so much different than just jogging.
Right.
Like, it's so much different, and you have to be in the ring to get that cardio up. If you're not in the ring, and I'm in the ring, even if I'm not taking bumps, I'm running the ropes and whatnot, hitting the turnbuckles to keep my body doesn't get jarred, and I hit those buckles hard. And I'm in that ring 3, 4, 5 days a week, like running, and I'm constantly doing matches. And if I got a match coming up that I know I'm going to put some time in, and for me, times, at least 15 minutes, then I'm going to put myself through like a mini boot camp. And during that week, I'll make sure I get a couple of matches in, so I am ready to go. And usually I like to try to get in the ring the day before a show as well, so my lungs are open and ready for the next day, so I'm not like tight.
Okay. I want to go back. You talked about your workouts. I want to talk about your diet. People look at you because you're huge now. I mean, you're 350 pounds, but you're still also down. Well, you're still down. Well, let me touch on this real quick before we go. Morbidly obese is what you call yourself, but yet I remember at NRW there was we were all in the locker room, a bunch of us, and you and who I can't remember who else, but Derek Drexel, of course, and a few other guys were out in the ring, outside the ring, and a big melee brawl broke out, and you just tore the shit out of the place. Chairs flying. So all of us come storming out of the locker room to try to get you to. I went running for you. I'm 290 pounds at this point. Running to you, I grab onto dude. It was like running into a fucking brick wall. It's like you didn't even move. I'm like, holy shit! I'm gonna have to step back, come at this one more time, and put actually what I can into it. And I did. And you barely budged. I mean, so. Morbidly obese or whatever, you're strong as fuck.
Thanks. Well,
I had to work to move you.
My arms and my shoulders are finally starting to show, so I'm impressed with that. But I've still got that big belly and whatnot. But I am like I will check myself out every now and again, because I am proud of how my arms are starting to cut, and I can't wait to form those up more.
Let's talk about your diet not real quick. I want to take as long as it takes, but so a daily meal or daily eating for you is you get up in the morning, and how do you start your day through your food, and make it a workout day? So I want to hear what you do before a workout, after a workout, as far as eating. So you get up in the morning, what do you have?
It's very simple, man. I'm really my routine is very simple. I usually don't, because I work late nights, so I usually get up at around 10 or 11. So my first meal, what I'll do is I'm going to get my first meal. My first meal, it's not breakfast. It's what works best for me. And it's grilled chicken. I cook my chicken about 5 days out, because that's about as long as you go before it turns. And actually today's my last day for my chicken, so I got to cook some more tonight. So I do organic grilled chicken. I always buy organic. And I've got spinach, asparagus, some green beans. I mix those all in there. And then I've got, I'll throw in some red peppers for seasoning, and a little bit. I used to do a lot of garlic, but it made me gassy. So now I'm doing a pinch of garlic. I feel great with that now.
Yeah.
Garlic, ginger, and that with the chicken. And then I'll throw in some shrimp on there as well. That's my daily lunch right there every day without fail.
It's breakfast, but it's actually kind of a lunch meal, right?
Yeah, it's my first meal of the day.
Yeah, first meal.
Let
me just say this real quick. It's interesting, because I was just talking with someone recently who visits Australia quite a bit, and they always have vegetables with their breakfast. And here in America, you don't hear about people having breakfast. I'll just call it first meal. With their first meal, and I do, and so it's really interesting to hear you touch on that you with your first meal you have vegetables with it. So I'm glad you said that.
We are a people of habits, and our culture here is bacon, eggs, and toast.
Yeah.
Well, I love eggs, but they make me gassy, so I cut that out. I love bacon, but it's too greasy and it's got too much sodium. So I'll have bacon when every now and again, but it's not something that I want in my daily intake. And then so I'll do that, and then I'll hop in the shower, get myself woke up, and then right before I leave, I'll make myself a smoothie. And you've got your protein powder, and I usually go chocolate protein. I'm pretty basic. A scoop of almond butter, banana, a half a banana or a banana, depends on it depends on how hungry I am that day, because I go off of how hungry I am.
Yeah.
Half a banana or a banana, a few blackberries, a couple strawberries, some hemp heart seeds, and no sugar, low fat almond milk, and and a handful of spinach. Got to have those greens in there.
Yeah.
And before I leave the house, I've already consumed, between the chicken and then the smoothie, I'm at about 800 to 900 calories.
Okay.
And that's what I want before I leave, is that many calories. And I try to keep myself on a workout day. I'm up to about 28, 29, 3,000 calories. If I'm not working out that day, I try to keep myself at about 26 to 2,500 calories.
Okay.
So
when you say you leave, are you leaving to work, or are you going to the gym at this point?
No, I'm always leaving to work.
Okay.
It's heading to work, and I kind of create my own schedule. So like on a gym day,
go ahead.
I don't really
go ahead with what we were going with. So you go to work, and then when's your next meal at that point?
Okay, so I leave at around 1:00, and so I got the smoothie then, and at around 4:30, I'm already hungry. So at that point there, you got yourself another bowl of the chicken and vegetables.
Okay.
It's like very basic. I notice I don't do a lot of carbs. My body runs better when I don't have carbs.
Yeah.
I'll have something small and carby. Like there's this place, it's called El Pollo Loco here, and they do a chicken bowl, and it's got chicken and vegetables, just chicken and vegetables. And so I'll usually hit that right after the gym. And it's like $7. It's not expensive. And it's got like beets and I love beet. Yeah, I love beets now. I didn't like them before.
Yeah.
I'll drink the beet juice and all that stuff.
Me too. No, it's a good thing for the heart, cardiovascular system, all that.
That's why I drink it. I don't like the taste of it, but I enjoy the hell out of it because I know there's benefits to it. Which, I mean, it took me 45 years to figure that out, but here I am. Yeah. And so, and then, like some days, like, I might want to have a cheat meal. Now my cheat meal for some people are like pizza or whatever. For me, it might be a bowl of pho, which I'm addicted to. I'll get that pho and even that cheat meal though, I'm looking like there's a lot of sodium in that. But
I was just gonna say the only thing junky in that is the sodium, right?
Yeah, the junkies of sodium, but like the total calories on that is like between that and the spring rolls is like 600, maybe 700 times. But there's a lot of sodium in it. So when I notice when I do too much sodium, my wrists swell up a little bit.
Oh, okay.
And it's a natural thing, it's not for me, it's because I don't have a lot. That when I do have it, I just blow up a little bit.
But J-Sin, you living in Texas where it's hot, and then you're working out and you're working in the ring. Don't you sweat a lot too? So don't you kind of need extra sodium?
That's a good call, actually. Yeah, I do. I didn't even think about that. So you got me there.
Okay.
Yeah, because I don't. Yeah. So that so in the summertime, then I might have to go get pho almost every day. Then thanks. No, I'm just joking.
There you go. There you go.
So we don't have AC.
What's your last?
Huh?
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, we don't have AC in our gym either. We've got a couple of swamp coolers, but like we just sweat it out. So you got to man it out.
I think that's kind of cool for a gym setting. I mean, it's one thing I like having AC at my home, but I don't care in the gym. So I think the sweat like that is good. What's your last meal before you go to bed then?
I try to eat something really small. I try not to go big at all. So for me, I might just get like a protein cookie as a treat.
Okay.
Or something like that. Like that's really where I get most of my carbs from.
Okay.
Or if I'm, I might go get like this is not my last meal, but like after the gym, if I'm feeling like, okay, I need a carb or something, I'll go get like a dry taco, like with and that's my place I go to. It's just grilled chicken with the tortilla, and that's it. Okay. But besides that, like at night, I try not to eat too heavy. I try to focus more on hydration. So I'm like, coconut water, vitamin water, water. But I'm big on coconut water because of the potassium it gives me without the sugars and all that stuff.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. A lot of electrolytes in that actually. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. It's a great recovery drink.
Yeah. You mentioned going a lot better than Gatorade that a lot of people think is a recovery drink, which isn't anymore.
No, that shit drives you out.
Yeah. So you don't do rice at all, like with your chicken or anything, right? I want to cover that.
No, okay. I don't do rice. Okay. Every now and again, I'll get the urge for it, and I'll throw in like a little brown rice or quinoa. But I've actually got a whole bunch of quinoa on the thing, but I just started trying. I was still feeling sluggish, and so I started cutting it out. I'll do some low sodium black beans, and I'll do like a scoop of that.
I do that too.
Yeah, like that's actually in my meal thing, so I forgot to put that in there. But that's probably the only one I forgot. But I'll get a scoop. Like those little cans will last me for like 5 days.
Oh wow!
Because I don't go heavy on it. I'll just put a scoop or two, just enough, because we don't need everything. For me, it's just a flavor thing. Yeah. And I'll throw that in there, and then if I'm feeling really, really good, I got like my good healthy barbecue sauce, and I'll put a drop on that. I'm good.
What brand do you use on that?
Down here, we've got like Hemingway's, which I really like.
Yeah, we don't have here.
No, it's probably the best I've ever found, and it's pretty good. But I don't use much because it's got a lot of that sugar and crap like that. But compared to what I used to eat, I think I'm doing okay.
Well, and your body shows that too. Let's talk about, before I really want to delve into like your mind and stuff, because I know you're a very mentally strong guy, and you're a guy that sets goals and goes after them and achieves them. But before that, we covered your last meal. Sleep. Talk to me about your sleep. Like, how much do you typically get? How much of a believer in good sleep are you?
I'm a big believer in good sleep. Like today, I didn't get much good sleep, and I don't know why. But I feel that we need to get 7 to 8 hours a night of sleep. Yeah. Last night I got about 6, and the last hour or so I just kept waking up, and so I'm still a little bit. I'm not on, and I could function pretty well off of 6, but I feel that my body is at like max potential between 7 to 8 hours a night. Anything less than that, I feel I have to struggle through, or I feel lethargic, and I have to mentally push myself to get through the day. And I do, but it's just more of a stress, and it's not a good stress. I think if you get that 7 to 8, even 8.5 hours, you're good. Like yesterday, was it Friday night, the first time in months, I slept 10 hours.
Nice.
Yeah, and I never do. Like I'm usually a 6-hour guy, but I feel like I'm at my best at 8. But sometimes after 6, I just can't sleep no more. Like my body wakes up and it's like, you're good to go. Let's go. Right. And then I get up. But then I don't take naps. And I wish I could train myself to, because I feel that if I would take like an hour nap or even a half-hour nap halfway through my day, but I'm always on the road. I'm nowhere near my home to take a nap, but if I could take like a half-hour nap throughout in the day, I would probably feel a lot better.
When you were at your biggest, especially, and you're obviously still big now, but did you ever have sleep apnea or have a sleep test done at all, or get a CPAP machine?
I probably need to get one now. I know I have sleep. I'm fairly certain I have sleep apnea to this day.
Yeah,
So
makes a big difference. It's real big amongst like powerlifters and stuff. And of course, I have one too. And now that I've lost weight, I'm having less incidents per night on my sleep apnea. So body weight does make a difference.
yeah, I'm gonna have to check that out because I like my blood pressure's been going down and all that stuff with my weight loss and you know, my goal is to get it down to normal or as close to normal as I'll ever be.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay, anyone that knows me, I mean, I have a whole brand, apparel line, everything else. And matter of fact, I'll be sending you some stuff out here at the end of the month. But that's Fuck Mental Weakness is my brand, and I'm a big believer in the mind and setting goals and visualizing your goals and all that. And there's no way, and I've never talked to you about this, just so everybody knows, but there's no way you've achieved what you have in life and weight loss and wrestling and everything without having goals and a plan to figure out how to achieve your goals and digging deep into your mind. So let's hear what you have to say about the power of the mind, how much you do with goal setting and visualization, things like that, what your thoughts are on that.
Well, for me, I like the answer is always no unless you go out and you try it. Like if you just sit home and you go, well, the one thing I don't like to use the word hate. I don't like to use the word deserve because nobody deserves anything, and hate is always too strong of a word. I feel if someone goes, this person has earned it, that word has a lot more cachet to me than deserve, because deserved has been taken over by people who don't deserve dick, and it's the entitled. For me, when I set my mind, like when it just comes to losing weight, man, there's several times I've set my mind to losing weight and I failed. But like, how many times everybody has failed at something? We fail more than we succeed. You can't, and for me, like right now, like I want to get down to about 280 just because I want to see what it feels like. Because even when I felt at my very best, I don't know what I truly, even right now to this day, I truly don't know what feeling great is, which is weird. Like I've always been in my 300s and I always felt great in my 300s. Well, then how would I feel if I got in my 200s? I bet you I would feel a hell of a lot better, and I probably feel better than I would ever expect now. Like, so that's my mental goal is to get to that point. Is I want to get to 280. And so many people were like, "Oh, you're gonna be so small when you get to 280," and I'm like, "Yeah, but this is about my health, And I think if I do it the right way, then, I want to live a long life. I want to be around to torture people, and for me, a long life is probably into my 60s." Because I don't I think the damage that I've done to my body is probably irreparable at some point for like the 80 to 90-year-old, but who knows? But I would like to make it well into my 60s, give me at least another 20 years to torture people. At some point I would like to get out of the wrestling business. And I think that time will probably be within the next year or two. I'm trying to set things up for everybody else right now, and I just want to go out on a high note rather than.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh my God, I'm so glad you said that. That's so important.
Yeah. Well, I mean, a couple of years ago, I haven't liked none of my matches in the last 3 or 4 years until this year, because I felt I was me again, and I would like to do that for another year, maybe 2 tops, or like for me, like once I feel I have that perfect match to go out on, I might just be like. I might not even say goodbye. I might just dip out, because it's more about personal satisfaction right now than trying to satisfy the world and everybody else.
I want to talk about what I just said. When I said, yeah, great, I'm glad you said that. I didn't mean the fact that you're retiring from wrestling eventually. I just meant the fact that you have a plan that you want to go out on a high note, because I competed in powerlifting for 14 years, 1981 through 1995. And I picked my last contest. I knew it was going to be my last one. And I was able to go out on a high note on that. And it's something this many years later, again, that was 1995. I just look back on and have such a great love for the time I spent doing powerlifting, and for the way I got to put a cherry on top of the whole cake, or ice cream, whatever, on how I went out. And it's just like perfect package of beginning to end for me on that. And when someone has such a great career in wrestling like you, it's neat to hear that you want to go out on a high note as opposed to continuing on past when you should and just beating yourself up further than what you need to be. But having a complete package of your whole career that you're really, really proud of, and just keep that in mind. You're not close to that yet, but keep that in mind when it comes time to start thinking, okay, I think I'm about finished with it. Stay with that. Keep on a high note. Go out.
I think mentally I'm about finished with it. About finished to me is like where I could say I could put like another year out, and I've got a couple of really good things I'm doing right now that I'm excited about. But at some point, like these stories that I'm doing, they're going to be done, and they'll probably be done within the next 9 months to a year. And I don't really see anything beyond that would make me, I don't know, man. I just think that like for me, it would allow me to focus on my body more and my mind more. And and what will, then people go, well, what do you want to do? And I'm like, I'll travel, So my goal now is just to set myself up to travel and figure out how to work and make money from traveling, and that's what I want to do. I don't want to be just, I don't want to be tied down anywhere. And I want to see the world and live it and be in the world.
Yeah. That's neat that you have a plan. So I kind of sidetracked you. So to kind of finish talking about the power of the strength of the mind and how much you put into visualization and goal setting. Mm-hmm. Talk about that a little bit more, because I think I interrupted you.
For me, this goal setting is just like when I see it, I visualize everything that's going to happen, And so like for me, when it comes to professional wrestling, and that's a very powerful state of the mind. And I will visualize, like the upcoming show I have, I'm visualizing everything and how it's going to play out and from A to Z. But then when you deliver, you have to deliver it verbally to the people you want to carry out those tasks as clearly as you are visualizing it. Mm-hmm. You have to get you've got to. And you've got to get them excited about it as you are. You have to, you just can't talk to them and go, this is what I want you to do. You have to, you have to show you got to show me you're excited. And sometimes I put on like, my Sully face, which is, but it's usually not even a put on. I say it's a put on, but I'm actually excited about it. Yeah. And you hype them up, and you want to hype people up. And so when I'm visualizing, when I'm mentally visualizing it, and then when I actually put it into motion, I get excited about it. I get like nervous and I get the shakes, and then one thing that drives me is fear of not succeeding, like and especially as I get older, you have less failures in your future than you do in your past. So you want to make sure those failures become smaller and smaller, and you use the knowledge that you've gained throughout the years to not make those mistakes. But don't be afraid to take risks. But they're more calculated now. They're not, they're not as reckless risks as they were when I was younger, because I was able to take those reckless risks, where today I have to be more calculated and I have to be more concise about those risks.
Yeah. Wow. That's great stuff. We're winding down, but there's a couple more things I want to cover, but I want to go to a couple comments real quick here.
Sure.
On the screen here. Thank you for coming on the show. I have a lot of respect for wrestlers. The training and the shows are much harder than people think. I'm sure you can agree with that.
I can, and I remember Julie, man. Julie was a cool cat. How you doing, Julie?
And she also posted something else here. Glad to hear you are on a healthier regimen of eating and working out. Smart about sensing how many bumps you have left. See, I said.
That's really cool. Thank you so much. Yeah, I got like 2 bumps left in my whole career, just 2.
Oh, yeah, right. Well, there's not a whole lot of people that can knock you off your feet, so I think you're okay for a while.
I think so. I think I can stretch those out for at least another 20 matches.
let's. I'm gonna look at my notes here real quick. Okay, as we wind down, I want to throw a few names at you and just kind of get your response. They don't have to be one word responses. Just
Sure.
just your thoughts. Let's see here. Well, first of all, let's go with Buddy Rose, the Playboy.
Wrestling dad. One of the greatest wrestlers in history that people don't even know of. They remember him when he was, the fat guy Buddy Rose, but they don't remember him from like 1979 to 1983 when he was one of the best wrestlers in the world. And then he was, just a person who was very generous with me and taught me, really how to be a professional wrestler. Like, his mind is unparalleled.
Going along with that, let's go to Ed Wiskowski.
Easy Ed Wiskowski, Colonel De Beers. He is one of the most intellectual wrestlers I have had the pleasure to come across. Very honest and forthright with me. Someone who I would go to and ask for advice, and he would give me like a straight answer, no bullshit. I'm always going to have a special place in my heart for him. He's just such a great human being, and someone that he would break down a match for me. He wouldn't interrupt us during it, rarely, when we're practicing, and he would get in that ring and he would break it down and he would show me like almost like a mathematician at why and how things would work. And he would improve. He would always give those subtle advices to improve everything. Man, I love Ed.
Do you base a lot of your training school that you have now that we'll let you finish with in a few minutes on a lot of the stuff that they taught you?
Yeah. I constantly bring them up. Like the kids, probably my kids don't even have no clue who they are. But like, how could you not? Like Buddy Rose has gone through the gamut, but then when you look at who he was trained by, Billy Robinson, Vern Gagne, Cosro, Iron Sheik, world champion. And then you go Harley, Colonel De Beers was trained by Harley Race, Lord Littlebrook. So
wow.
Come on.
Next up, we have your thoughts on Thunder.
Big Thunder, man, my brother from another mother, man. He's a really good dude. He would give you the shirt off his back, or if you had holes in your socks, he would give you. If he saw somebody with a hole in a sock, he would show up the next show with a bag full of socks to give to you because he could not stand holes in socks.
Wow.
Good brother, man. Though he always had my back, and I always had his back, and I've always enjoyed being around him. And I never got clotheslined in the face, so I consider that a compliment. So,
yeah, you're right. From what I hear, I had one match with him, and it was short and brutal. Okay, here's a group. Let's start from the left. Heartthrob Eric Hanson at this time, NRW.
Yeah, Eric Hanson. We actually share a birthday. Eric, man, if he only realized how good he was, he was so talented and so good. And I don't know if he believed in himself as much as he should have. And I think that he could have gotten a lot more out of himself if he just shut everybody out of his head and believed in himself. He was really good, and his bumps were really good. His psychology was really good. And I feel that he could have gotten really far.
I agree. When this picture alone kind of describes the genius of Skag Rollins. This is NRW, and he put us all together. He knew the weaknesses and strengths of each individual. And wow, talk about the makeup of a force here, the Pacific Coast Blondes. Being able to, for me, to be teamed with Cameron and Eric was just, not to mention a learning experience, but just they really made me look good in the sense of being able to cover all my weaknesses really well and show my strengths. These guys are awesome.
That was a great group. I thought you guys, like you just said, you guys accentuated each other. Let me speak on Cameron Starr real quick.
Yeah, we're coming
Cameron
to actually. Before that,
Sure.
let's go to Megan since she's next in the picture. But we're definitely going to talk about Cameron. So, did you know Megan very well? She's cool too.
I knew her mainly just from the wrestling part, and based just purely off of at the shows. Like, she actually was money as a manager. She knew how to get heat. She was really intelligent when it came to that, and I thought that she added to the matches rather than detracted. And I would have liked to have seen what she would have done if she stuck around. I think she was actually really good at what she did, and people hated her. And I think that the fans, they could not stand her. And I think that really added to the crew.
Yeah, she was cool. Toxic diva. She went by. Okay, now Cameron. Let's talk about Cameron now. What a great wrestler.
Cameron is as a wrestler and a human being is an awesome person. He people don't know he was my roommate. We lived next door to Buddy and his lovely wife Tammy for several years, and he was still is a great wrestler, really good wrestler. Another one of those guys who's very underrated. I think he was very highly opinionated, and I think it caused heat with some of the people. Many of us were highly opinionated too. So unfortunately, I feel that he was, I almost think he was singled out wrongly by many people. And because his mind is really good. And when he would hear his ideas, they were always fucking top notch. And he was just such a good worker. And then as a personal level, before I met him, I was a bit of a homophobe, to be honest. And once I met him, it really opened my eyes, and it kind of I felt ashamed for thinking like that. And so, I on a friendship level, on a personal level, I'm very grateful for opened my eyes and made me realize that everybody is everybody. So,
well, I'll tell you, with him, when I first started doing some wrestling training out at Tito's, it was supposed to be the grappler running the training sessions and stuff. And grappler would show up super late, or sometimes not at all. And Cameron
really.
Yeah. They'd be working. Cameron and his little crew would be working, and he's like, you know what? Just come work with me. And when Grappler gets here, if he gets here, then obviously he can take over. But until then, let's work. Let's learn some stuff. That guy took me under his wing and was just amazing. And when it comes to wrestling, I owe him so much as far as being able to do any of the things I was even able to do in training. He was so patient as someone to work with me. I can't say anything bad about him from those days of Tito's gym. It was just for him to do that. And you know what he would, and we had already paid the grappler, right? And so, what Cameron would ask for as payment for actually taking over and training me?
Let me guess, Burgerville.
Almost Gatorade. At that time, just we bring him a bottle of Gatorade, and that's it was amazing. The guy was just amazing. What do you think of this Todd Rule character? Last one in the
Todd Rule, man. Todd Rule, he look at those traps right there, man. First off, look at that, man. The big ass freaking traps. The shoulders are just disgustingly huge. But actually, big dude. And when I first saw you and you don't even remember this because you probably didn't recognize me because I was just a mark in the crowd. It was 2004 at the Milwaukee Elks Lodge. You were there, front row, and I was sitting in the back somewhere, and I saw this big old dude. And I go, "Who's this big motherfucker?" And I'm just like, "Oh, this guy's probably just a douchebag musclehead," because that's what I would, as a fat guy, would think. All these muscle guys, they're just all pompous and nah, man. And then when I met you, man, you were like one of the nicest, most kind-hearted, good people that could also break my neck if you wanted to. So no, man, you're a good brother, man.
Yeah, and that's why I could say that about you guys too. You guys are always so nice. Once I met you guys, you and Skag and Cameron. But actually, a quick story about Cameron. You mentioned the Milwaukee Elks Club. Speaking of that, this is something a lot of people don't realize. In '05, I believe it was '05, '06 at the latest. Cameron Starr wrestled Rebecca Knox, who is now Becky Lynch, in a match.
Yes, he did.
At the
That was
Milwaukee Elks
05, I think.
Yeah. So we were there. We were in the locker room. I didn't work that card, but I was in the locker room. And at that time, it was Rebecca Knox. And again, she went on to be one of the most famous female wrestlers in history. And yeah, Cameron had a match with her there that night. Pretty amazing.
Yeah, she did all right. She's had an all right career.
Yeah, she could, there's some stuff I'm sure you could give her for advice, but, she's been on cereal boxes and everything. Pretty amazing.
But as her gimmick was, she's straight fire, man.
Yeah. Okay, we got two more people to cover because I'm excited to get your thoughts on it. First of all, let's go with the devil himself, Derek Drexel.
Man, Derek Drexel, man, my boy. He's me and him, like we're pretty much attached to the hip from the beginning of our careers. Like we wound up being these outcasts that just wound up hanging out together, and he, we've traveled the world and countries together, and he's actually like, as scary as he looks, and he carries that gimmick so fucking well, man. I think it's really cool. Yeah. He's actually one of the nicest people you can know, even though he is an asshole when he wants to be, but he's actually like a sweetheart of a dude, and he's just a good person, man. Like, I can't say enough good things about him. He's multi-talented, multifaceted. Like, he's intelligent in wrestling. He's intelligent in life. He's intelligent. He's such a great artist. And like, between his graphic designs and like everything he does is gold. And that picture you were showing with me bleeding, him pointing at it, a little backstory to that was, as I was wrestling Richie Magnet, and Derek had those like real heavy pimp canes with the metal top to it.
Yeah, with one of those.
Well, what happened was he that actually, if you look at that picture where he's pointing that ring right there. So what happened was he put the cane underneath his fist, and he went to swing it at Richie. Richie ducked. He hit me in the head. Well, his ring, the weight of the cane and his ring finger, it fucking hardwayed me. Jesus. And so I remember when I got hit, and I go, oh, that's a solid shot. So that's believable. And I'm falling backwards, and I'm like, all right, that was good. So I'm just laying there. I'm oblivious that the fact that I got a pool of blood next to me, but I didn't know at this point. And so Derek gets in the ring and goes, oh, fuck, I'm sorry, brother. And what? And he goes, you're bleeding. I'm like, oh, no big deal. And I look over, and I'm just fucking dripping like a faucet. So that's how that happened. It was a funny little moment.
Yeah, I actually had Julie take this picture. This is in our W locker room.
Yeah, that was downstairs, I think. Mm-hmm. I remember that picture very clearly.
Is he the only guy you know that's ever brought a chainsaw into the ring?
Personally, yes. I think Terry Funk did it, and I think Leatherface did it in Japan. But personally, yes.
Okay. Just wanted to look at that. That's wild.
That's
okay,
so cool.
Now last one, man, and this is going to be good. Skag Rollins himself.
Look at him, man. I think that back in his Portland wrestling days. And Skag, dude. First off, he's funny as fuck, and now he's a comedian, and it looks like he's starting to gain some traction, and he's doing really good doing that. Skag is one of the first people that, like, really, actually is the first person that actually gave me a push.
Me too.
I don't think, like, I don't know if I've told him, and I think I have, but maybe I need to tell him 20 times over. But like, I learned a lot from him, and even like he would, he never considered himself a grizzled vet at that point, even though we were 5 years in, but yet I felt that he was, because he was constantly passing knowledge from guys that he had learned from and what he's picked up along the way. And so like with him, like he passed me so much knowledge, and I don't even think he realizes that. And and he, like, working with him that first year really helped develop like a lot of my mindset for the future. Like, and he wasn't like, we were on, I really cemented my belief in slow burns and not rushing things when it comes to booking and telling long drawn out stories rather than let's get it done in a month. Cause we were running every week and he could have just said, fuck it, you know, and we're going to hot shot everything. And he chose not to. And he let things draw out, because if he would have hot shotted everything, then there would be nothing left after 3 months. So
yeah,
and he's just a really good dude.
Yeah, I was just going to say the same thing. He's an amazing guy. I remember my second match at Portland Wrestling, it was a tag team. And it was him and well, actually right here, him and Ladies Choice. And Skag always had the best shirts, didn't he?
Mm-hmm. I look better nude. I love that one.
I like the one he had better. That I still talk to him about this to this day is he had one that said "breaking bodies, banging hotties."
Dude, that's so funny.
I'm telling you.
You remember Virgil Flynn?
Who?
Virgil Flynn. He was out of California. He had passed away a couple years ago. But Skag had this shirt that said "No regrets," but then he had like one of those button-up shirts weighed over it. And so this was in Portland, and Virgil walks up to him and goes, "Does your shirt say no Negroes?" And Skag was like, "So," he's like, "No." And he pulled his shirt up. He goes, "No, it says no regrets." And Virgil was like, "Oh," and he just, and I don't know why that pops me, but it was just something that I think it was the reaction. It was the Virgil had this quizzically puzzled look on his face, and then Skag was just like, "No!" Like he almost like he turned red, and it was really funny.
Yeah, he's something else. I mean, I think the dude's got like 500,000 TikTok followers these days. I think he's too big for us now. No pun intended.
Well, you know what? Good for him, because
no, I know.
Like he's when I see his stuff online, like he's blowing up now, and I'm really happy that he's doing that, because he was always really quick with the one-liners, and I always thought that I was good at the one-liners, and I'm like, it's kind of an envious thing. I'm like, oh fuck, man, he's just so good at that shit. So it's like, man, I wish I could be a little bit more sharper.
Yeah, no, anything good that comes to him is well deserved, because of I believe in karma, and he's given so much good that he deserves so much good back. You know, that makes me happy. Like I said, like I was going to tell the quick story. I started he in Portland Wrestling. He was my second match, the tag match, and I remember it went really well. But you know, it's thanks to him that it went really well. Him and LC, of course. And we got back in the locker room. He's like, dude, if you're that's your second match, and if you're not on the list with that, you know, remember that rag ring around the Northwest?
Oh yeah,
Buddy Wayne used to pretend to wipe his ass. Well, anyway, he goes, dude, if this year you're not on at least the list for being rookie of the year, something's wrong. Well, I wasn't. That guy didn't like me much, I don't think. But anyway, it's what my point of that is what a great compliment. When it was really him that made me look good out there, it's what a compliment coming from him, though. You know, so you don't know how it really was. We'll start winding down, J-Sin, and I appreciate your time. I appreciate it. Let's go. Let you promote a little bit. Let me find. Here we go. I know you obviously you live in Houston now, and you've got an organization going there. Talk about maybe your school and what this upcoming match you have, or this upcoming card.
The upcoming show we've got is live action wrestling. We're it's our very first show with the Law, and it's we're calling it Notorious. We're going to be at the Social Beer Garden. It's in downtown Houston, Texas, and you can find our links online, like laying down the law. And we're on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. Look me up on Facebook and all those places, and you'll find the links from there. We got a wrestling school. I'm not really big I'm not taking a lot of students. We're actually doing a lot of polishing on guys right now. And a lot of, it's more of like a gym for wrestlers rather than a school for young guys. Cause there's so many school for young guys, but there's not enough gyms for guys that you want to continue their career. And so that's starting to do all right these days. And we're starting to get some full classes, and we've got, benches, and we've got mats for grappling, and we got some boxing bags and some kickboxing stuff and whatnot. So we're starting to blow up. But yeah, the show next Saturday, it's Saturday at 3 p.m. bell time. And it's in downtown Houston, the Social Beer Garden. And I'm going to be in a match that night in a triple threat with Silverback Nate Slater and this young little jackass named Johnny Badgate. And it's a triple threat, and it's called a Social Beer Garden Bar Brawl. And pretty much no rules, my type of shit. You know, I'm sure I'll probably get busted open, or somebody will get busted open. And it's a lot of the guys are featuring most of the shows, like a lot of the shows featuring guys that have been my students in the last 4 years, and they're starting to blow up down here and make a name for themselves. And we should have a pretty good card, and the tickets are starting to sell really well, and they're still available.
That's awesome, man. I didn't think to have. I should have had you send me some pictures of your gym. I kind of kicked myself in the butt for that now, because that would have been neat to show that. I'd like to see it myself. So I'll hit you up for that, just for my own personal. I love looking at like people's gyms, whether it be their home gyms or train. That's just how I am. You touched on your social media real quick. You said people can hit you up there, but what is your social media, just so people know?
Just J-Sin Sullivan on Facebook. Jason, it's just JSON Sullivan on Facebook. I don't know all the link numbers and stuff. I'm horrible at social media. I'm on Twitter and Instagram as well, and it's J-Sin Sullivan on those. JSIN Sullivan on Twitter and Instagram, and then on Facebook it's just JSON Sullivan.
Is there anyone, which I know the list could be long, so whatever, take as much time, but or as short as you want, but anyone you want to thank, acknowledge, anything like that?
Man, if I'm afraid to start a list, because I'm afraid I leave somebody out. And so like really, like, when it comes to anybody, like really anybody that has helped me, helped train me, helped work with me, that guys that I've booked, guys that have people who've come to the shows, folks who are watching right now, folks who have followed my career. I just owe a huge debt of gratitude to each and every one of you, because you just allowed a kid that wanted nothing to do, that wanted nothing but to be a professional wrestler, and you guys allowed me to live my dream. And I don't think I recognized it. You know, I was grateful as much, you know, up until about the last 7 or 8 years. And I just realized how fortunate that I've been to meet so many people that I would never been able to meet, like yourself, and then folks in so many different countries and states and cities and towns. Like, you know, I've met a lot of really good people that have really like humbled me, literally humbled me, and has like, you know, formed my life and has created memories that I wouldn't have been able to have. Just, you know, I think I'd be a miserable prick of a human being, more so than I already am now, if I wasn't in professional wrestling and had the ability to meet all these good people. So thank you all. I'm greatly appreciated.
I know I'm very thankful excuse me, let me start with this. I know I'm excited to see you on this path of being healthier and dropping some weight and getting in shape and still being the monster that you are. That's exciting, because I'm on that same path. I mean, you've seen guys like myself and Cameron Starr, for example, and we don't have to go into details, but who have had health issues and are lucky to be alive these days. And so it's nice that before you've had them. Yeah, it was. Yeah. So it's nice to see that you took that serious and are leading a healthy life, but yet still doing what you love to do. And that's important. You don't want to not do the things you love to do just because you have to follow this different, healthier path. So good for you. And I thank you so much for all you've done for me personally in the wrestling business, and made me have some at the age of 58, be able to look back and have some really memorable moments. I owe guys like Cameron Starr, you, Skag Rollins, I cannot forget his name, Todd Royce now. So much gratitude and thanks goes to you guys. But that's really what I have to say about that. And thank you for coming on this podcast, taking time out of your day on a Sunday to be on my show. And that means a lot to me. I mean, when I reached out to you, there was no hesitation, just bam, let's do it, brother. I'm like, holy crap, that's awesome.
Yeah. Why not? It gives us a chance to catch up too, because we haven't talked ever since I saw you at the Moose Lodge some 7-8 years ago. I
think it'd be a fun way to end it, but I do hate to put you on the spot. So if you're hadn't had your coffee yet or anything like that, just say, not maybe next time. But can you cut a promo for the Power Rack podcast and we'll end on that?
Hell yeah, my man. I could do it. Hold on. Let me get my my voice ready.
Take your time.
All right, man. Hey, this is J-Sin Sullivan, and you're here on the Power Rack podcast. And don't miss it, because if you do, I'm going to come to your house and I'm going to rip your head off.